Hey, what's up everybody? Sunday night, May 30th. It's been raining and freezing cold here all weekend, man. I hope wherever you are or were, it was nice and sunny and warm. But I did do 2 barbecues in the rain. Memorial Day, you gotta do it. Anyway, here's what I want to talk about tonight. I actually saw last week, believe it or not, in the Daily Beast, maybe some of you saw this, an article where they talked about this statement that we always hear, that government spending, deficit spending is going to create a massive debt burden for our kids and our grandkids. And in that article in the Daily Beast, they said that statement, that we're passing along this massive debt burden to our kids and our grandkids, is the dumbest statement ever. And I've done a bunch of videos on this, and I couldn't agree more. I don't know if it's the dumbest statement ever, but it's up there, believe me, among the dumbest statements ever. Because if you sit down and you think about it, first of all, just from sheer logic, if this is true that we pass along this debt burden to our kids and our grandkids, like, who do they pay it to? I mean, when you analyze it at the simplest level, it's really like they owe it to themselves. But let me break it down for you into what it really is. And again, I've done many videos on this. When the government spends in excess of what it collects in taxes, that's the deficit, right? And the deficit accumulates year after year into what we call the debt. That spending in excess of taxation flows to the non-government in the form of greater financial balances. It is literally a transfer of money, a transfer of wealth from the federal government to the non-government. The money has to flow somewhere. The spending in the form of Social Security, of Medicare, of Medicaid, of military pay, of education, of NASA, of the Department of Agriculture, unemployment benefits, you name it, all the things that the government spends on, the money flows to people. And that wealth, which is what it is, it comprises a portion of the non-government's wealth, most of which that money is held in the form of government securities like treasury bills and treasury bonds and treasury notes, because they pay some interest. And those things are assets. So it's not what we owe. It's never what we owe. It's what we own. We own that. Those are assets. That's wealth that is transferred from the government to the non-government. This is why, if you go back, a good example, you look in World War II at the massive deficit spending which was done at that time. And that created part of the wealth that was passed along from one generation to the next. The payments made to workers, the investment in technology at the time, in infrastructure, in factories, in manufacturing plants, in capital, in physical capital, that was part of the wealth that was transferred from one generation to the next. So we are the generation that came after the World War II generation. We're not paying back. It's not a debt burden to us. It is part of our inheritance. Now the problem is, oftentimes, ideas, when simply stated, and they could be very false ideas and very dangerous ideas, but if they're stated simply, they can be very persuasive. A lot of people will not, they'll listen to this line that it's going to be this massive debt burden passed along to our kids and our grandkids, and that is a frightening statement. Most people will not delve into that and really try to understand what it is. They will just take it at face value. And because it is scary, it is something that catches people's attention, makes them fearful, and causes a reaction against that, as in, hey, we cannot allow this to happen. But it's based on misinformation, it's based on misunderstanding. The reality is, again, that the spending in excess of taxation, remember, taxation is when they're taking your wealth away. We all hate taxes. Why? Because it takes away our income, it takes away our savings, it takes away what is part of our wealth. And in many cases, for no real reason. I mean, taxation on productive work, income taxes, for example, that's ridiculous, but we have that. But spending in excess of taxation is what accrues to us in the form of income, in the form of savings. We hold on to that. That gets passed along from one generation to the next. So that article was absolutely correct. But because this idea is so ingrained and so embedded, and because it's stated simply and in a very frightening way, it's really hard to counteract that. It's really hard to change people's minds on that, to make them see clearly what it truly is. But I wanted to make this video, and again, I've made many videos along these lines to try to explain what that so-called debt is. It's not what we owe, it's what we own. Anyway, that's my thought for tonight. See everybody tomorrow. Got a new week ahead. Bye-bye.